You hang out with me as I was touring this house. Well, the home inspection process can be wrought with tons of emotions. I mean, I know my channel is particularly popular for me kind of pointing out all the things that are potentially wrong with a house. Like, hey, let's take a look at all these cracks along the stucco here because those might be signs of water intrusion. Oh, look at this up here. It looks like the water kind of coming off of that spout up there is coming and overshooting the gutter and getting onto the stucco here, which is causing some additional peeling and water damage, splashing on up over here, causing wood rot and termite intrusion. I mean, that's really fun and entertaining for you guys to watch, but from the perspective of a buyer who has tens of thousands of dollars in earnest money deposit and potentially another six-figure or multi-six-figure down payment for $1 million plus house, that can be really, really scary and uncomfortable. So today we are going to talk a little bit more about how I coach my clients to emotionally prepare for that journey. Hey, everybody. My name is Richard Whalen, owner and broker of the Imagination Brokerage. Today, we are not broadcasting from the Imagination Brokerage studios in beautiful Santa Ana, California. Instead, we're here at this house in Chino, California, that I am going to gently make fun of for the purposes of this video. Over the course of the past 11 years that I've been in this industry. When I first started, I wasn't necessarily the most emotionally in tune and sensitive person. I can be, very intense. Like I talk really fast and I tend to treat all of this stuff as as like an intellectual puzzle or a game. And I may not necessarily always be the most sensitive to how people are really reacting to this incredibly emotionally intense journey. And one of the things that I really wanted to focus on for all of my live videos this month is really talking about the emotional side of the home buying journey and some of the things that I've learned about how to kind of better navigate that. So last week we talked a little bit about the sense of shame that some people might feel and a lot of the other mental hangups that go into kind of not even starting the home buying process. And today we're going to talk about, okay, great, it's like the ideal situation. You've managed to get yourself into escrow on an amazing house. And now what I always tell my clients is, listen, over the next couple of weeks, I am going to make you hate this house. Now, what do I mean by that? Imagine yourself buying a car and this salesperson is really taking advantage of you. One of the things that dealers do is they throw on a whole bunch of extra, luxury packages. Usually it's like, oh, it's an extra security system, an extra window tint, it's an extra, et cetera, et cetera. And those are all little upsells that that they use to try to make themselves a little bit more profit, and the salespeople get bonuses for how many of these things they are able to throw on to the cost of the car. So imagine you're in that situation, but you've trained for this. You understand all the things that you're looking for in a car. You know exactly how much another similar car will be at the dealership across the street. And so you tell this salesperson, you say, hey, listen, I don't need the extra window tint. You can either give me the window tint for free or take it off at your expense. So it'll actually be more expensive for them if they want to take it off. Or I'm just going to get up and leave. I'm going to walk to the Chevy dealership next door. Odds are that salesperson is going to back down. They're going to say, oh, okay, all right, you got me. And they'll let you have the window tint for free. It's the same thing for houses. You have to come into the negotiation after a couple weeks and say, listen, I found problems with the roof. I found problems with the plumbing. I found problems with the driveway. And those are not things that are cheap and easy to fix. You know, I like there's a whole bunch of things that can turn a house into a money trap. And I, really believe very strongly that my primary job as a real estate agent is to prevent my clients from buying an expensive money trap. So, while most, I talked about this in a live video a couple weeks ago. While most agents might just hire a general inspector to come in and just do a quick cursory glance, because at the end of the day, most real estate agents are trying not to screw up the deal. They're trying not to learn too much and scare their buyer away from the house. And so they play it really safe. They just get just one simple inspection, which is basically just a visual once over on the house, and then say, okay, all right, yeah, that's good enough. For me, I will at the very least do general inspection and the sewer line inspection, and then depending on the issues that I observe with the house, I may include some other things. That may include taking a closer look at the roof. That may include taking a closer look at the chimney. Chimneys can be a big deal for older houses. We're going to, if things are kind of called out in those inspections, and oh, by the way, before I forget, the termite inspection, that's like another one of the standard ones that in Southern California, traditionally, sellers would always pay for that anyway. But these days, it's more and more likely that the buyer is going to end up selecting their inspector and paying for it, which I like anyway, because I want the inspector to be on our side and to make sure that they catch every single thing that could possibly be wrong with the house, and then give us a big fat invoice to use for negotiating the price. One of the things that, in order to kind of like defend my clients' emotions, it really begins right at the beginning. When we first sit down and meet with our buyers, I want to make sure that we understand all the different priorities that they are looking for and all the different areas that they at that time think that they're willing to compromise on. And then we very comprehensively, very aggressively look at a lot of houses. Like, we're going to go through, and at least online, look at dozens of houses, maybe 40 or 50 houses. Narrow that down to a list of 5 to 7 that we all go and watch on a single afternoon. If we're lucky, we might end up getting one of those houses, but more often than not, it's going to be a month or two of looking at 5 to 7 houses every single weekend. By the time buyers buy a house in that sort of strategy, like, they are 100% sure that this house checks off all the things on their list. And then even then, as the, let's say we submit an offer and we haven't heard back yet, I advise to my buyers to go and keep looking at houses. Let's go back and look at a few more on the list. Let's see everything else that's available in this neighborhood, so that they can be 100% sure that within their price range, within their budget, that this is the very best opportunity that they could get. So that already removes a lot of those lingering uncertainties. It removes a lot of the emotions from it when you realize it's like, hey, listen, this checks off as many boxes as I can check within reason, within my budget. And on top of that, if this one falls through, I already know there's 3 other houses on this block that I could be buying instead. And I've already gone and looked at them, and I've already kind of made my peace with the fact that, you know what, maybe I should go buy one of those instead. Okay. Now, when you write the offer, you have to make it seem like you would crawl through fire to buy that house. Okay. Like all this kind of emotional dispassion and all that, that's something that we keep on the inside. When we write an offer on the house, we call them up right away. We want to make sure we are the very first ones to submit an offer as soon as it's ready, or as soon as it goes on the market. We want to make sure that we say and do everything we can to make that seller feel like, wow, these people love this house and this deal is going to go through no matter what. And to some extent, like I do feel that way. Like the whole process of house shopping is exhausting. And it is great to be able to just commit to one and just make it work no matter what. But that is not emotionally where you want to be 2 weeks later when it comes time to negotiate on price. When it comes time to negotiate on price, I want you to be sitting there feeling probably a little bit overwhelmed, feeling maybe not necessarily like you're about to make a terrible mistake, but like, looking at all the different inspection reports, all the big invoices and estimates from contractors and just thinking, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? And be willing to walk away, because that is what puts you in the best possible position for negotiating on that price. Even houses that don't seem like they have a lot going on with them. Just earlier this year, we did a little 2-bedroom condo that, it was nearly brand new and in beautiful, beautiful condition. And, and I told them, I said, hey, listen, we're probably not going to find that much wrong with this house, but at least maybe we can get you a few $100. And, we ended up getting them $1,000 credit because, like I said, we nitpick every little thing in the house. And listen, $1,000 that at least pays for the inspections plus maybe like a little bit of profit. So the ROI is good on that. But on top of that, peace of mind, knowing that, hey, my house isn't going to collapse because the foundation is not crumbling, right? Like this roof isn't going to cave in. Like you need to be able to have peace of mind when you lay in bed at night that there's nothing horribly wrong with the house that you can't see, and I can't guarantee that every single thing inside every single wall is perfect, but we can get as close to possible and also make sure that we cover all the highest risk items to really ensure that you are not going to be on the hook for like a 6-figure, repair price tag that you weren't expecting. All right. So, as we go through this process, then, like I said, I really prep my clients. I say, hey, listen, termite stuff always comes back with like a lot of things that you might not expect, but you know what? Traditionally the seller pays for most of those things. And there's always stuff going on under the sewers of XYZ type, but unless we see major root intrusion with a pipe break or something like that, odds are that's not going to be a big deal. And that's a kind of another thing where, in writing, all of those invoices and estimates can look really scary. There's a whole lot of things that is going to be on there that, because they went over it with a fine-toothed comb, they found every conceivable thing that's wrong. But when you actually are there in person, and I always recommend that my clients are there in person to meet with the inspectors and talk to them, the inspectors in person will verbally say, oh yeah, that's not a big deal. This crack, that's just aesthetic. You don't have to worry about that. Things like that. Like those are the sorts of things they can say verbally that due to liability reasons, they can't write down on paper, right? So we really want to hear straight from the inspectors, hey, is this crack serious or is it just aesthetic? So, at this point, the buyer is aware of what is serious and what is not serious. I have coached them on which aspects of things are like legitimate deal breakers and what, are not. And then finally, we take all this information and we present it to the seller at a time when they are at their weakest. After 2 or 3 weeks, the house cannot just fall out of escrow and go back onto the market without a loss. Like every time a house falls out of escrow from the seller's perspective, it drops $10,000 in value, $20,000 in value. So they know that that is a serious threat. On top of that, when we send over all the copies of all the inspections and all the estimates and everything, they are formally notified that all of those issues exist with the house. And so if they were to go into contract with another party, they have to share all of that information with the other party, or else they are guilty of withholding information, potentially guilty of fraud. And so they are in that position where it's like, hey, listen, now that these facts are known, we have to play ball. And, even with a house that, so we just did a transaction where the house was otherwise in, fairly good condition. But, if we really were very picky about it, and I mean, we threw everything into it. We looked at the foundation, we looked at the roof, we looked at the plumbing, we looked at everything. We came up with $70,000 worth of issues that we could ask for. And, part of the art of my job at that point is putting together a very thoughtful and considerate letter where I go, hey, listen, these issues over here, those we all know are not really serious. These are long-term issues. We'll just take this $40,000. We'll set that aside. And, these sorts of things, these could all really, be considered long-term upgrades on the house. I mean, the house is 50 years old. It'll be fine. Let's just take these $20,000 and just kind of, put it aside. And I just keep whittling it away until, I am presenting to the other side a proposal for just $9,000. And by the end of that email, they are so relieved that it was only a $9,000 bill that they're very likely to sign off on it. In this case, they did kind of push back a little bit. We left them some room to push back. So, we basically kind of like negotiated down about another $1,000 and settle on an $8,000 credit. Turn that around, present that to my client. And realistically, we probably could have actually settled for a little bit less than that, but he was already kind of mentally prepared for all of that. And he knew that with that $8,000, he'd be able to fix all of the serious problems with the house that might keep him up at night. And bing, bang, boom. We did our job, right? He gets a house that he can feel safe and comfortable in, not wonder about whether or not he could have bought something better up the street. He doesn't have to worry that somewhere up in the roof or down below or in the walls is a incredibly expensive problem that's going to haunt him later. He can feel that, all is right in his life and that he made a good decision. And, so while 2 weeks in, I got him to hate his house. Within 2 weeks after that, he was in love with it again and ready to start moving his stuff in and start living the next phase of his life. So in a nutshell, that is my process for how I really make sure that my clients ultimately feel as safe and comfortable in their houses as possible. Because, at the end of the day, your house can either be a great source of comfort and love and support for you, a backdrop for some of the best memories of your life, and also can be one of the best financial decisions you can possibly make in your entire life. Or your house can be a massive, expensive regret and a huge money pit that has a seriously negative effect on your financial future for years or decades. And really a big part of the difference of that is just hiring the right people, having the right team with you, looking at all the little details that most people miss. And most importantly, at least for our theme of this month, is don't get so discouraged, don't get so anxious, don't get so shameful, don't feel so overwhelmed that you end up holding yourself back from making the decision that could be great for you. Don't freak yourself out, psych yourself out, and miss out on this opportunity. So in that regard, I've learned over the past decade of my career to not just be a master of the numbers, but also to be something of a guide and an advisor for the mind and spirit when it comes to this incredibly expensive and difficult decision. Again, everyone, my name is Richard Wayland, owner and broker of the Imagination Brokerage. I am excited to be coming to you live today from this beautiful home in Chino, California. If you want to find more information about me, about the brokerage, be sure to find us we're on every platform now. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. You just look up the Imagination Brokerage on all those different platforms. And I will be coming to you live every single week. We're going to be moving next week. We're going to be starting these on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So looking forward to seeing you then next week. And also just a reminder that I do respond to every single comment and every single question. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to write them down below or shoot me a private message. And I will either respond to you right then, right away, or I will also bring up your question on next week's live video so that, your question, your curiosity can benefit everybody else out there. So thanks so much for joining me live. Again, my name is Richard Wayland, and I will see you next week.